Poop is such a fascinating topic. As a kid, I never really thought about it much. It looked brown, smelled strange, and then I flushed it down the toilet. I didn't go every day and didn't know if that was a good or bad thing. The thought honestly never even crossed my mind. Occasionally, if I ate 5 bags of Reese's Pieces in a row, which I often did, I would get diarrhea. I knew that was bad, but it quickly went back to normal, a beautifully formed, S-shaped, and complete turd, all in just 1 or 2 pieces. It's actually pretty incredible if you think about it. It's amazing that we have these bodies that perform all these complex cellular and digestive tasks automatically. There's a part of the body and mind that just knows what to do. Call it instinct, nature, God, or divine intelligence. It is all those things. It operates regardless of our knowledge and understanding or our ignorance of it. We don't even have to tell our body what to do. It just does it. Now let's really break down the obvious, which until recently was not so. You are what you eat. Meaning, the food you put into your body actually goes through and into your body. Some of it gets turned into energy for your cells, and then the remaining waste comes out the other end. It stands to reason that if that's the case, wouldn't it be advantageous to put the best, highest quality food into our mouths? Food that nourishes the body with life and vitality. It's also important to note that the way the poop comes out is a strong indicator of the efficiency of the digestive process and the overall health of the body. There is a direct correlation between our health and what we choose to eat. Good nutrition is the cornerstone of good health. To quote Hippocrates, the ancient Greek physician, "Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food." It's also ironic to note that spending years and years in medical school, medical doctors are only required to take one class about nutrition. That's right, one class on what really makes and breaks someone's health: food. It is severely overlooked, but I digress. Let's take a trip through our bodies the way a piece of food does, mouth to anus. Here is a simplified version of the digestive process. Food is placed in the mouth, properly positioned by the tongue, and then chewed with the teeth. It's important to chew food thoroughly. Chewing sends a signal to the brain, which then activates the production of saliva. As the food is chewed into smaller pieces, it gets mixed with the saliva, which contains natural digestive enzymes. These enzymes help to pre-digest the food, preparing it for the stomach. Once swallowed, the food travels down the esophagus. This is a long, slender tube connecting to the stomach, located right below the rib cage. Esophagus, such a great word. Now, things are about to get mildly technical, so if you've never looked, or you're trying to remember anatomy class from middle school, it's a good idea to view some pictures and videos of the human anatomy to get familiar with what's under your skin. Once the food reaches the stomach, the real emulsification takes place. The stomach contains, or should contain, hydrochloric acid. This acid breaks down the food and is capable of destroying a can of Mountain Dew in less than 5 minutes. There is actually a video on YouTube that demonstrates this and is worth watching to really see just how powerful our bodies are. The stomach lining is protected from the acid by mucus. Not enough acid causes belching, bloating, and discomfort. Too much acid can lead to ulcers. As you can see, the balance of everything needs to be just right, and we've only just begun. After the stomach, food enters the small intestines, which is the main site of digestion and absorption. That word absorption is extremely important. You can eat the most nutritious food, but that doesn't necessarily mean the body will absorb it. There are many other organs around the stomach that secrete special digestive juices that aid in the digestion within the small intestines, mainly the pancreas, liver, and gallbladder. If these organs are not functioning properly, the chemical recipe will be off, and absorption will be inhibited. By definition, Crohn's most commonly affects the end of the small bowel, last part of the small intestines, and the beginning of the colon, but it may affect any part of the gastrointestinal tract from the mouth to the anus. That's quite broad. For me personally, when I feel pain, it's usually in the common area. From the outside looking down, it feels about 2 inches below the belly button and slightly to the right. I've read that about 90% of all nutrient absorption occurs in the small intestines. If that's the case, Why does the irritation of one small area have such a huge impact on the entire absorption process? From the pictures taken by the camera pill I swallowed, more than 90% of my small intestines are fine. Unfortunately, I do not have the answer. But knowing about the importance of having maximum nutrient absorption, we should be doing everything in our power to have a healthy digestive tract. The small intestines are home to many strains of bacteria. Here are some interesting facts according to the science I learned back in 2018. There are about 37.2 trillion cells in the body. In addition to those, there are also about 100 trillion bacterial cells living amongst them. This means that the majority of our bodies are bacteria. Newer reports from 2022 now state that the ratio of cells to bacteria is 1:1. Either way, that's way more than I thought. Now, some bacteria are beneficial, while others are not. Just like the yin and yang of the universe, balance is key. The good news is that the number of good bacteria in your body can be increased by consuming probiotic supplements, as well as eating the foods in which these bacteria are naturally contained. I will talk all about these fermented foods and supplements later. But let's first finish our trip out the other end towards the light. After the small intestines comes the large intestines, also known as the colon. This is where excess liquid is extracted, and the once food, which is mush at this point, rests queued up in a coiled shape, waiting to be expelled. A Mayo Clinic study found that the average time food spends in the large intestine varies by gender, 33 hours for men and 47 hours for women. Your digestion rate is also based on what you've eaten. Meat and fish can take as long as 2 days to fully digest. As mentioned before, how the poop looks once it leaves the body says a lot about the health of an individual. If all is well, the waste can stay in the large intestine safely until the urge comes to eliminate it. If, however, a part of the digestive process has been compromised, the fecal matter will be toxic and should be eliminated as quickly as possible. Having gas and flatulence is a strong indicator that something is not right. The longer this improperly digested food lays in the colon, the greater the chances of this now toxic substance being reabsorbed improperly through the colon wall and into the bloodstream, poisoning the body. This is exactly why constipation and gas are so dangerous. There is a saying in the natural health community when it comes to this situation, and it's very true. Better out than in. Well, we made it. Here comes the fun part. Let's turn around and see what it looks like. I hope you find my humor endearing. I know what it's like to suffer. Crazy as it sounds, until I figured out how to control this, I had diarrhea or loose stool pretty much every day for about 10 years. Now, when I turn around and see a formed piece of poop that has become the norm, I smile and celebrate a quiet victory inside my mind. There are some funny illustrations online about the types of poop. The main differences are in consistency and color. What's key to know is that healthy poop is brown, formed, about 1.25 inches in diameter, has a slight curl, and sinks to the bottom of the toilet. Anything that doesn't display those characteristics is suspect. If your poop is pale or yellowish, it means that your gallbladder is not producing enough bile. Sometimes a different color is fine and is a result of the food you ate. For instance, if you eat a lot of carrots, your stools might be orange. Also, commonly mistaken as blood, if you eat beets, your poop will be red. If your poop floats, it means that your body is not properly absorbing fat. When it comes to texture and consistency, seek to find the middle ground. Diarrhea and loose stool can be attributed to many factors. Most commonly, it is associated with an overgrowth of harmful bacteria. Though Crohn's disease and IBS are not the same as traveler's diarrhea, they do share the same fecal consistency. Probiotics and fermented foods are key when it comes to controlling diarrhea. Avoiding foods that irritate the digestive tract is just as important. On the opposite side of the spectrum, hard stool is not good either. It goes without saying but needs to be said, especially for you young whippersnappers out there who might be reading this: never force a poop. Just sit there, relax, scroll TikTok, then concentrate and let it fall out. Getting back to nature, before toilets were invented and dinosaurs roamed the earth, squatting was the method used by early humans when it came to defecation. Even now in the modern era, if you're walking in nature and there are no porta potties nearby, you'll be forced to return to your roots and squat. It's interesting to note that in some third world countries, squatting in the restroom is considered the norm since the toilet is in the floor. Though some of us in the modern world may find it strange pooping in this position, you'll be pleasantly surprised to know that the bowel movement actually feels more complete. This is because of the natural angle that occurs as the colon shifts into a more efficient position. It's hard to improve on nature, and though more comfortable, sitting on a toilet, in the position of a chair, may actually be robbing us of the full experience. Luckily, there is a way to compensate for this with the use of a squatty potty that actually elevates your feet while sitting comfortably in position. Someone who suffers from chronic diarrhea might consider the use of over-the-counter drugstore anti-diarrhea medicine as an option. Remember, however, that the body is naturally intelligent and is always seeking to survive. Diarrhea is the body's attempt to eliminate something that should not be inside you. Blocking yourself up with chemicals causing constipation like Imodium will only lead to more serious complications down the road. If you take nothing else from this chapter, please remember the phrase, better out than in. In addition to probiotics, this is where Dr. Schultz's intestinal formula 2 comes into play and really works wonders. Anyone with traveler's diarrhea or any kind of diarrhea, for that matter, needs to take this supplement. As mentioned earlier, it literally sucks the bad bacteria out of you, bringing consistency and bulk back to the stool. There are still a few more things I need to mention about poop, frequency and timing. Let's start with frequency. The more you go, the more weight you lose. Ideally, you should have a bowel movement once a day, first thing in the morning. To help aid this, upon waking up, drink a big glass of water or green tea. This will stimulate the bowel, and you'll have a healthy urge to go. Anything more than 3 times a day is a problem. Lastly, there's blood. This is where you really need to be vigilant. Internal bleeding can lead to anemia and make you feel dizzy. Try not to freak out. Sometimes, the blood can be from hemorrhoids, which is something completely different and, though uncomfortable, is not as serious. If the blood is fresh and bleeding relatively close to the anus, it will look red. That is blood from hemorrhoids. Beets are very healthy, but do not eat them for a while if you're suspecting blood. If the blood is dark red or black, it means that bleeding is taking place deeper inside the body. This is more serious. Think about anything you might have recently changed in your diet. A new protein shake or vitamin, perhaps? If so, stop taking it and see if the bleeding stops. I've experienced internal bleeding multiple times and seen blood in the toilet with vitamin E supplements. Because of this, I believe that everyone is different, and just because something is considered healthy, doesn't necessarily mean it's healthy for you. Drinking too much coffee can also trigger this as well. Pay close attention to what your body is showing you. After all, everyone's body is different.
Thanks for watching. See you in the next chapter.